So if people want to find a seat, take a seat. There's a lot of seats in the front. If people want to come up closer. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to quickly turn the mic over to Lisa Flag, our council member of Los Altos.
Thank you, and thank you, Daphne. Hello. I'm out of breath, but so happy to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. Lisa Flagger, for those of you who don't know me. Welcome to the 2024 Los Altos Women's Caucus Elections Forum. You know, earlier today I attended the reproductive rights, freedom for all, and many of us were in it, including Claudia, and our first panelist. And it was just beautiful. Looking across the room, we had it at Crown Plaza, one of our local hotels, and just looking across the room and seeing so many women, right? It's empowering, it's inspiring, it's uplifting, especially with everything that's happening right now in our country and around the world. And I feel the same way right now when I look at all of you, all women, I think. Well, we have Dave here. But it's just really heartwarming to see so many women engaged. We need each other. We have a voice that's necessary and important. And that's another reason why the Women's Caucus hosts forums like this, right? And for those of you who don't know, we do this every election cycle, and it's only for female candidates. The Women's Caucus, as the name implies, is only made up of women. And we are a very diverse group of women, different backgrounds, ages, interests. And our main purpose is really civic engagement, where we want to empower and encourage women in Los Altos and the broader community to really engage and participate in the civic process. And we do that in many ways. We do training, we do mentorships, we have events like this. We also recruit and encourage women to run for office, to serve on boards and commissions, and to serve as nonprofit leaders. You know, for those of you who don't know, I currently serve on the Los Altos City Council, former mayor, current council member. And I say this all the time, I would not have been able to do this if it wasn't for the help and support of the Women's Caucus. Like many women, I wear many hats. And so, you know, my day job is I'm a county assessor executive here at Santa Clara County. I'm a mom of 2 kids, a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. And so, like all of you, I'm sure we wear many hats. And so we need the support of each other to really do it, right? So thank you all for being here. Thanks for supporting all these female candidates. We're very excited to hear from them. We ask you to have an open mind. And I will turn it over to Daphne. But before I do, could I have a show of hands of all the Los Altos Women's Caucus members? Let's just be proud and show our hands. And I know a few of us are absent, but these are our members, and we're so excited to have you here. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Daphne Ross. I'm also a member of the Women's Caucus. Lisa gave a great introduction to the Women's Caucus, so I'm not going to repeat that. But we do have a co-sponsor tonight. It's the American Association of University Women. So I wanted to read a little bit about them for those who don't know. The AAUW is open to all who hold an AA or higher degree from college, founded in 1882 to advance the handful of women able to attend universities. AAUW first authored an 1885 paper disproving a prevailing myth that college impairs a woman's fertility. 2, most recently, a study documenting the economic impact of workplace sexual harassment. AAUW provides grants to female scholars, from scientist Marie Curie, the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, to astronaut Judith Resnick, and thousands more. Locally, the Silicon Valley branch of AAUW works on gender equity, advocates for reproductive rights, and funds local 7th grade girls who receive full scholarships to Tech Trek Science Camp. So thank you for being a co-sponsor of AAUW. Tonight is our pleasure to have 3 panels in this order. So first we'll have the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors candidates. Second, we will have the Santa Clara County Board of Education candidates. We will have one candidate who is running for the El Camino Healthcare District Board of Trustees. And then our final panel will be the Mountain View Los Altos High School District. So that is the order of the evening. The way that the panels will work is that each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement. That will be followed by questions that we've prepared and that were submitted in advance. Each question will be asked to each candidate, and each candidate will have 90 seconds to give an answer. We will rotate who answers first. Our timekeeper is here, Vicki Reeder. So please look to her for cues when you have 30 seconds left and when your time is up. And then after all the panels are completed, we'd like to do something new this year. We're going to invite all of the candidates who are still present back to the stage to have a conversation about women running for and holding elected office. Since this is a women-centered event, we want to hear and learn from one another what it's like to be a female candidate or office holder. So that's something new we're going to do this year. So I'd like to welcome Margaret Abekoga and Sally Lieber. They are running for the Board of Supervisors. And I'd like to start with Margaret Abekoga is a council member in Mountain View. So Council Member Abekoga, if you'd like to start with your 2-minute statement.
Oh, here we go. Well, good evening, everyone. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you so much to the Los Altos Women's Caucus for having us at this forum. As mentioned, I'm Margaret Abekoga. I'm currently a council member of the City of Mountain View, serving my 16th and final year. I've been mayor twice, first in 2009 during the Great Recession, where I led the city out of a budget deficit, and we've had surpluses ever since. And then in 2020, during the COVID pandemic, so I've been called the crisis mayor, but I certainly have had my challenges in leadership, but I think I'm very proud of our city, and we've been able to recover from both quite well. In addition to my council service, I serve on a number of regional boards, including the Silicon Valley Clean Energy, which I helped to start, the Valley Transportation Authority, the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and Caltrain. I hope you've tried our electrified trains. They're running right now. Very proud of that. I'm also on the Bay Area Air Quality Management and the Cities Association of Santa Clara County. And I'm now running for Santa Clara County Supervisor to ensure that every family has access to affordable housing, safe neighborhoods, quality health care and mental health, behavioral health services, good paying jobs, clean air, water, and open space for us and our children. I bring an unrelenting commitment to the work based on my lived experiences as a daughter of immigrant parents who were denied access to health care, as a working mom and a breast cancer survivor. I've worked here locally addressing issues like housing and transportation and climate change, and I promise to fight every day of every hour to make sure that everyone in this community has a chance to thrive. I'm really humbled by the support I've received by over 150 elected leaders, including our members of Congress, Anna Eshuzo Loughran and Roe Khanna, and the Los Altos town crier, who endorsed me saying, simply put, Abekoga is in better touch with the local needs of our communities. I ask for your support as well. Thank you so much.
Good evening, I'm Sally Lieber, and I too want to thank you for having us and the other candidates here tonight. Thanks to the Women's Caucus and also AAUW. Way back when I served on the board of AAUW, and it was a really great experience. So thank you all for being here. I have been involved in public service for a very long time. I won't say how many years, but I started working on campaigns when I was 13 years old. And so it's been a while. And I've been really honored to hold offices, including serving on City Council in Mountain View, and as Mayor of Mountain View, as a County Commissioner for Santa Clara County, serving for 3 terms in the State Assembly. And I don't know if Margaret and I both just have bad luck, but when I was in the State Assembly, we had the largest budget shortfall in California history. And we had to do a lot of really heartbreaking cutting of programs to get out of that. I currently serve on the State Board of Equalization. We oversee property taxes throughout the state, and because I chair that board, I sit on the Franchise Tax Board as well. So it's good to have the visibility into the revenues that support our local governments, schools, and county government as well. My priorities are really to strengthen the safety net for women and their families, to ensure that we have the housing that is affordable for our workforce here, and that we have child care that's affordable for the families who live in our communities. Also that we have a healthy community that is sustainable, and that we do everything in our power to ratchet down on the toxic chemicals that impact human health so much. So those are the reasons that are motivating me to run. Thank you.
So this first question will be for you, Board Member Zimmer. What do you see as the most important role of a county supervisor? And please share what you're most excited about regarding the role.
Yeah, so I think that the most important role, as I mentioned, of the County Board of Supes is to make sure that the safety net is there to serve families. Some of the issues that I see as very important to that I've been engaged in over the past year and longer are really reform of the dependency care system. These are children who are in dependency care by virtue of having been severely abused in their home environment. And over the past year, it has really, there's been a very bright light shown on the fact that the county systems for these vulnerable children are not working as they should. I have a small nonprofit and work to support homeless women and their families. And I think that we need to do much more to ensure that we have an adequate safety net for them. For the first time this year, we're starting to see children, toddlers, and even infants in the encampments in Santa Clara County. And so we need to change the way that our shelter systems are working so that we really protect people that are on the streets, in particular women. And we know that in many instances, women who are living on the street do become victim to sex crimes and other crimes of violence. And so I'm very focused on ensuring that they have full access as victims of crime to all the services that they need to put their lives back together. So those are some of the things that I'm very, very focused on. Thank you.
So hello. Thank you. The county is definitely seen as the safety net for the community. So I do see that as the most important role. And my areas of focus would be on affordable housing and homelessness. I'm very proud of what we've been able to do in Mountain View as a city. We've actually gone above and beyond what most cities do. We're very fortunate because we've been financially stable to be able to do that. So what I've learned over the years in working in this area is that we really need to approach the issue with many different strategies. There's no one way to resolve or solve the issue, and we've offered that, the spectrum of options from safe parking lots to transitional housing to affordable housing, and then as a city we allow for housing development. So that's one area. The other area that's very personal to me is mental health, and this comes as a mom. My older daughter has had challenges over the years, and as I see the struggles, especially with our youth, I want to work to strengthen our services there. But as I walked the district, and almost walked the whole district again, What I hear most is public safety and the economy, affordability, and frankly, the county has a budget deficit. So those are actually other areas of focus, and frankly, the budget to me is really the most important thing because you have to have a solid financial foundation to provide the services that county does. Thank you.
Thank you both. So the next question, we'll start with Councilmember Abegoga. Please talk about our public health system and hospitals and what you think they need to work on with the supervisors.
The county, as you may know, runs the Valley Medical Hospital and Healthcare System, and you've probably read in the newspaper recently that they are buying or in the process of purchasing Regional Medical Center over on the east side of San Jose. They also recently purchased a couple of other hospitals, so they have 4 hospitals now. And the healthcare hospital system, they take care again of the most vulnerable in our community, those who may not be insured or are in Medi-Cal. So it's a very important system, and it affects the entire county, whether you're a patient of the system or not. So what I see the challenges being there is one, there's a need for staffing, and I'm endorsed by both the Valley Physicians Group and the nurses, solely endorsed, and they shared with me the challenges coming out of COVID and just not having enough staff, and yet more patients because of the acquisition of these hospitals. So the transitioning of these new hospitals into the system has not been completed, and that needs to happen. On top of that, they're purchasing another one. So staffing, definitely just the financial stability and sustainability of the healthcare system, and my time's up. Thanks.
She's brutal with that sign. Well, I would say that in terms of public health, we have to have preparedness for the next pandemic that comes. I was running for office when COVID was just barely starting to rear its ugly head in our area. And one of the issues that I was running on was the need for preparedness around pandemic flu. And people were saying, oh, what are you talking about with that? Well, 2 months later, they knew exactly what I was talking about with it. And I think there were many lessons learned through COVID that we have to internalize within the system. I too put a real emphasis on mental health. The county has recently implemented the 988 number for individuals to call. And I think that open access mental health is absolutely critical. Over the many years that I've been in public service, I've seen that the health condition that impacts the largest number of my constituents is depression. And I would also say that our county needs to do a much better job of following chronic conditions in people in the community and making sure that those chronic conditions don't worsen and that they're addressed in the earliest stages. I want to also, I know that we have an El Camino board member here, so I'll give kudos to El Camino for addressing postpartum depression. We have to have more services around that issue that is so impactful for women.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with board member Lieber this time. Joe Smidian is a hard act to follow. What would you keep and also do differently from his tenure on the board?
Well, he is a very hard act to follow. He is a deep thinker and a systematic thinker. I overlapped with him in the state assembly, so I was able to see how he moved legislation, how he addressed issues in a very complete way. And that is how I think about policy as well, is that you have to take it on holistically and look at all of the pieces of the concern. One thing that I think is very attractive to me about serving on the County Board of Supes is that you can be there for 12 years. So you can really follow an issue until the results are present. And so I really give so many kudos to Joe for the depth work that he has done on the environment, on women's health, on energy efficiency, on all kinds of issues. And I'm honored to talk with him regularly and do intend to follow in his footsteps. I think that I'll bring a slightly different viewpoint to it. I really come out of the world of social services much more, but the way that he has done policy has been really impactful to me. And I do think that the county, the primary job that the county does is to implement state legislation, and so it's tremendously valuable to me to have had the experience at the state level with Joe Smidian.
Thank you.
Joey definitely has big shoes to fill. My feet aren't that big, but I would say he has been such an amazing legislator and brilliant, articulate, thoughtful. I hope to be able to bring the similar qualities. I know that as I've gone to all the different communities in this district, and there's 9 cities in District 5 now, as I've talked to folks, they appreciate that he has tried to deliver projects for each of the communities, and I would certainly do the same. I think I could bring a slight twist to that perspective in that because I've been at the City Council for 16 years, I've seen how the relationship needs to work with the city and the county. And during the pandemic, I was mayor, as I mentioned, and at that time we didn't have testing sites in North County. And it was actually my colleague Liz Nis from Palo Alto who called me and told me, we need to do something about this. And so we ended up writing a letter to the county asking for this. And then from that, we started meeting weekly, every Saturday morning to talk about all the issues around COVID. And so I saw how important it is for cities and counties to work together, the county to work together. So I bring that perspective. And then something that as I mentioned, I've done the regional work, and that's something I think, and something new that I bring as well. And seeing that all issues, a lot of our issues are beyond city borders, it's important to work regionally. Thank you.
We are to our last question. So we'll start with Councilmember Amikoga. You've been in public service, you both have been in public service for a number of years. What in your past experiences will help you most if you were elected to the Board of Supervisors?
I've been called battle tested, and I shared my experiences being mayor during 2 crises, and so I think that has given me invaluable experience, and especially with COVID, it was a time when our city manager had just joined the city. She was 10 days into the job when we went into sheltering in place, and so having been on the council for a while, I was really able to work very closely with her, hand in hand, and got to really work, the details. And I think that's what one of the strengths that I can bring, one of the valuable experiences I can bring. Also, the relationships that I've been able to build over the years with so many folks. And as I mentioned, I have 150 elected officials who endorse me, many organizations. And at the end of the day, what we do is about relationships, I believe. It's about the network that we create and working with everyone. And I try to listen to all perspectives, not just those who agree with me. I actually enjoy the other side sometimes. And that's what I think I've also learned is that issues are very complex. They're not black and white. A lot of what we do is gray. And we have to really listen to everyone and listen to all of those points of view to come up with the best decision for the community.
Thank you.
I think the thing that helps me the most is having represented a district of multiple cities before. When I served in the state assembly, I represented Mountain View, Sunnyvale, Cupertino, Santa Clara, and San Jose. So it was a potpourri of cities that didn't necessarily have all things in common, but having that experience of reaching out to them. I currently represent a district that has 19 counties, from the Oregon border down the coast to the LA County line. So I have a lot of experience representing multiple jurisdictions and thinking about the interests of those jurisdictions. I would also say that the experience that I've had in regional agencies as well as at the state level has given me a perspective on all of the policy domains that the county deals with. I was in the state assembly when we went through the realignment of corrections and had individuals going to county jails instead of to the state prisons. So I know some of the policy DNA and how things came together, and I think that's very, very helpful. Right now on the Board of Soups, we are losing Joe Smidian's knowledge base, and we have a lot of members who have just served on city council. And I think it's really helpful to have that broader perspective from that. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much to both of you. Let's give a big round of applause. Good luck. 26 days. Well, we're going to take 1 minute to transition. I'd like to invite up Board Member Grace Ma and Board Member Jessica Spicer. Okay, we're now moving on to our race for the Santa Clara County Board of Education. We have two candidates here tonight, Board Member Grace Ma and Board Member Jessica Spicer. So we're going to start with 2-minute opening statements, and we're going to start with Board Member Ma.
Thank you very much to the Women's Caucus and to AUW tonight for having us here. I want to make an apology early that I won't be able to stay late. I have another event afterwards, so my business card does have my phone number and email address, so please send any questions or responses to my email directly or my phone. And the other note is that I am a recovering engineer, and I have 2 boys. So I don't think I think I defy that study that was mentioned earlier about fertility problems for women who went to college. My name is Grace Ma, and I'm running for re-election to the Santa Clara County Board of Education Trustee Area 1. I've devoted the past 23 years advocating for a quality education for all Santa Clara students. I'm a champion for all children, working for our youngest infants and toddlers by co-founding the Strong Start Coalition, which worked to expand pre-kindergarten access in Santa Clara County. And my dream is for universal preschool for all, because when a child starts kindergarten behind, it's really hard to catch up. This year, I've also worked with severely disabled special ed students, supporting the reopening of a medically fragile classroom down in Gilroy. And the County Office of Ed has a very different role than local school districts and district boards that you all know and love, and you have direct interaction with. The county office, though, supports the most vulnerable children, including incarcerated youth, migrant education, foster youth, and the Head Start federal program for low-income families. We're a safety net also. I support parents and families in under-resourced communities to be engaged with their children's education. This year on the Head Start Policy Council, I was coaching leadership skills for parents who are often working 2 or 3 jobs and are English learners. I champion innovation in education and accountability for public charter schools so children in underserved communities have equal access to a high-quality education, especially in underserved communities who are uplifted by good schools and including good charter schools. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jessica Spicer, and thank you so much for the Los Altos Women's Caucus in AAUW. I'm running for the County Board of Education because I believe the demographic should never determine your destiny. I know this firsthand. My father died when I was 6, and leaving me with my alcoholic, often drug-addicted mom. And I was able to rise up out of my situation simply because of my public education. Be it the teachers, staff members, and community members. I was able to go on to Wellesley College and off to UC Law, San Francisco. I am now a mother of 3 and a public servant. I've made it my mission to give back. I've served as the president of the LASD School Board and the president of the Santa Clara County School Boards Association, always making sure that every child is getting the opportunity to succeed. I'm running for the County Board of Education to ensure that public schools support every child, no matter their background, that teachers and staff members get all the resources to that end, and to truly represent everyone from Palo Alto, Los Altos, Mountain View, and Sunnyvale. I am proud to have the support of the California Teachers Association, the Santa Clara County Democratic Party, the South Bay Labor Council, and 27 of the 29 trustees that are in Trustee Area 1. And I have over 280 donors to my campaign. Together, we can make sure that every child in Santa Clara County has the chance to succeed. And you can learn more about my race at JessicaSpicer.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, Board Member Mott spoke a little bit, this question will be for Board Member Spicer first. But Board Member Mott spoke a little bit about the roles and responsibilities of a Board of Education trustee. So what do you see as the most important roles of a County Board of Education trustee, and what skills and lessons would you apply from your previous experience to allow you to be successful in that role?
Very good question. So,
Yeah, sorry. It's a very good question. As Trustee Ma had said, the County Office and Board of Education is the safety net of public education in the county. And so actually the most important thing to do is to make sure that every kid, no matter their background, is given that chance to succeed. They do serve the most medically fragile special education students, low-income students as it relates to preschool. They serve the court schools. And one thing you did not hear about my backstory is, in fact, my brother was in juvenile detention and prison most of my life and is yet back in prison. That is a soft spot for me also. I want to make sure truly every child, no matter what situation they are born into, get a chance to succeed. One of the ways I have thoughts of working as the Office of Education and Board of Education, putting together an effort to make sure that the A to G requirements is something that everyone graduates with. Not only will that kid be set up for college, but also be more educated if they decided to go to the trades or decide never to go. They are just more educated and more educated electorate and citizenry. Thank you.
Board Member Mott. Of course, yeah. What do you see as the most important roles of County Board of Education trustee, and what skills and lessons would you apply from your previous experience to allow you to be successful in the role?
So I've been in this role for 17 years. This is my 5th election. And so I bring a wealth of institutional memory, and that I think that that's really important to bring to the board, because right now my current colleagues, of which there's 7, all of us together, 3 of them have never been school board members before or even elected officials. So I think that having that institutional knowledge and having been on this board doing the work is the most valuable thing I can bring. Of the things that I've done, I would say that the important part of working with both the school districts, because the county office does a lot of administrative services for all the school districts, the 31 school districts, and then also serving all the diverse, vulnerable children in the county is our biggest effort and importance.
Thank you. So we will start with Board Member Ma for this question. What examples do you have of working to reduce inequities in the quality of education that students receive?
So reducing inequities is one of the big items in trying to decrease, eliminate the achievement gap, which has been a major item for our county board back in 2020. We used to have a SJSE 2020 where we were trying to eliminate the achievement gap. Sorry, that was in 2010, and we were going to eliminate it by 2020. And so that didn't happen, unfortunately. But it was a major purpose that we developed plans of which there were multiple pillars. One was universal preschool, or at least preschool for more students, so that, again, all the kids who start kindergarten late wouldn't have to be behind and have such a difficult time to catch up. We also had a pillar for teacher education to be able to maintain and increase, actually, the amount of professional development and the quality, so that teachers would be able to nurture that spark of learning for their students, because we know we know teachers are really the hearts of all schools. And then also we did have as one of our initiatives the importance of working with school districts to improve their academic performance and also increase or at least make sure that there's good quality charter schools, because charter schools do have a preference for serving underserved communities, and those kids are usually in struggling school districts and so need the support that they can get. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Of course, of course. What examples do you have of working to reduce inequities in the quality of education that students receive?
Thank you. Important thing to note about Los Altos School District, for which I've been a trustee for 8 years, is that everything having to do with Los Altos School District, we care about equity. We care that every last one of our schools looks pretty much the same. We're not perfect. Yes, we could do better. The numbers could all look the same across, but we do also try to make it neighborhood schools also. That being said, we have really focused, as long as I've known and prior to when I've actually been on the board, on trying to close the achievement gap. And one of the good things that came out of COVID was that we actually started a whole data wall at every school where we were focusing on those students that were falling through the cracks and what was going wrong and what lessons they did that weren't working, and then figuring out, okay, what else can we do next? What else we can do next? Truly focusing on each and every child. So that is one way that we have focused on inequities. And we're also focusing on making sure, and this is help from the state, we have the ELOP program, the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program, and we have a staff member that's also helping families get to services that they can use at home, not just for education, but for basic human needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with you, Board Member Spicer, for this question. Oftentimes, the County Board of Education makes decisions about new and existing charter schools. How would you go about making a decision regarding a new charter school or regarding a charter renewal?
Thank you.
As it relates to charter schools, in every decision I make, I use critical thinking. I want to look at every little piece in the area, how the local schools are doing for educating the students, whether this charter application is going to mirror the demographics of the students in the district, whether it is going to be serving the most vulnerable students in the district. I think Some people may think that I am completely anti-charter. I am not. I am just going to use critical thinking for every decision I make. Thank you.
So in the charter school world, the Santa Clara County School Board has been known to analyze and look at a lot of charter schools. We're probably the county office that has the most charter schools authorized in the state. Right now we have about 19 charter schools that have been authorized, of which we've had some good ones and some bad ones. So we have this great data book online, if you're interested, that describes all the charter schools that we have. It describes all of their demographics, their academic performance, their comparison with the school districts that they're at, and you can see how much the teachers are paid. It's really a wonderful data book. I recommend people looking at that if you're interested in charter schools. As far as the requirements for charter schools, it's really pretty well legislated what is required to be able to approve a new charter school and what is required to be able to renew charter school. So we have a very good charter school department, and they take into effect all of the charter school petitions that we get, both new ones and renewals. They're now about 600 pages, 1,000 pages, so they're huge. And they're very, very well documented of what exactly every school and student and administrator, all the rules and regulations are going to do. So what we do when we look at these schools are examine their criteria as stated in the education code, what kinds of things they've done and how they fulfill all the different criteria that are needed to have good schools. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll start with Board Member Ma for this question. Who are your top endorsements from, and which are you most proud of?
So, top endorsements. I guess at the top of my webpage, if I remember it right, I have the endorsement of former Mayor Sam Ricardo and current Mayor of San Jose and current Mayor Matt Mahan. I think that my work in the county, largely with San Jose, since San Jose is the largest city, is well reflected by their support. I also have endorsements from SEIU, which is the classified employees. They are the paraeducators, the custodians, the admins, all of those employees of the county office and also, the whole union in the area of 521. And I think by working closely with them, I've developed a really good relationship that I think I'm very proud of. I've been supportive of a lot of their concerns brought up with regards to safety, accountability, different employee issues, which although we don't on the board have direct influence and effect on, we do have some perhaps persuasion or kind of sideways influence, but we don't do negotiations like local school boards do. Yeah.
Thank you. Board Member Kaiser.
Thank you. I have the endorsement of the California Teachers Association, the Santa Clara County Democratic Club of the county. I have the endorsement of Planned Parenthood. I have the endorsement of over 100 electeds from the area, 66 of them being trustees from Santa Clara County, and 27 of the 29 trustees from Trustee Area 1. I have endorsements from Congresswoman Anna Eshoo, endorsements from Mark Berman, Assemblymember Mark Berman, State Senator Josh Becker, and Assemblymember Evan Lowe. And why do I have these endorsements? I have these endorsements because A, they know that the county is this safety net of public education and takes care of the most vulnerable children in our county. And they know I was a vulnerable child growing up, and I will bring that perspective. And they also know that I have a proven track record of representing people and making sure to do the best by the community that we represent. Thank you.
give an example of a situation where you were a minority voice in a board action or issue, and how you worked to collaborate for a successful compromise.
The best example of that is when we were looking at where facilities or buildings would go on the 10th site. And we decided that it would go on the corner of Showers and California. But me and Trustee Talio had a different opinion than 3 of the other board members. And in this case, they were trying to convince us otherwise, right? Oh no, you should vote this way, but it was 3-2. It is a democracy. And in fact, in the end, the vote was 3-2. And that decision is made, and as a board member, you then go by the decision of the board. In that case, I did believe, while I liked the placement in a different location, in the end, I realized that all the concerns I had would in fact be met by other ways of other things that they could do around where the old buildings were. So that's my best example. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the most difficult resolution that we had this year was one where I was in the minority for a while, but we did work out something in the end. This was a resolution that was brought forth by our board president and one of my colleagues about a resolution about the Palestinian and Israeli situation. And so it was a difficult discussion. We had 150 people come and speak at the first meeting. I had said right off that I wanted to table the discussion because it came up as a consent item, which I felt wasn't really appropriate. It needed to be fully discussed and brought forth with more staff analysis and background, since our board was not well versed in international relationships. But we decided to go ahead and have the discussion. We had 150 people come for that first meeting. We decided to put off the discussion for a second meeting, which we had 170 people. In the time between, I called a really good friend of mine who is Muslim and a really good friend of mine who is Jewish, and I brought them both together and said, let's talk about this and let me understand where both of us, or both of you, or us together, could come together with some kind of resolution. And they were both very well educated in these items, which I wasn't, so I just listened and listened, and we came up with something.
Oh, time for one more. Okay, well this will be the last question. We'll start with board member Ma. What is special about you, and why would you enhance the current board? I know you're already on the board, but what do you bring to the table that is special, that adds?
I think I bring, like I said, to the table experience. So I think experience really matters. I think also as a recovering engineer that I'm analytical, I'm logical, I have a lot of critical thinking. I also have high-tech experience. I worked for HP and Agilent for 18 years before converting into an education person. And so I have a lot of that kind of Silicon Valley, entrepreneurial, inspirational creativity, kind of thinking out of the box attitude, which if you watch some of our meetings, you can see I ask a lot of questions, and I watch for and try to take care of our budget and fiscal accountability. I think that's mostly it. That's a bunch of stuff. So, thank you.
Board member Sizer, when you're ready.
What do I bring? I have 8 years of experience as a trustee for Los Altos School District. While I may not have been on the Santa Clara County Board of Education, it does not mean I'm not experienced. And I have a collaborative nature. It is one of the reasons why I got all the endorsements that I did receive. I'm known to work with people in difficult situations. and try to come to a resolution. I am known to actually make sure I care about what the community thinks. One of the things I had done on the LASD school board was put together a very, very extensive public engagement process where I brought together about 1,500 individuals across Los Altos School District to try to come to a solution as it relates to Los Altos School District and the charter school and the 10th site. One of our issues that happened is the pandemic, but we were working through all that stuff. But because of my collaborative nature, I know that I not only will do a good job in the role with acting with the new trustees, new to me, but also I know a lot of legislators in the area and will be able to get more resources for Santa Clara County. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to our and I would like to invite Dr. Carol Silversill to come up as we transition quickly. Dr. Carol Ann Summersill is running for the El Camino Healthcare District Board of Trustees, Board of Directors. There are 3 seats open and 4 candidates. She is the only one who is able to come tonight. So I'm going to invite her to give a 2-minute opening statement, and then I will just ask her a couple questions, 2 or 3 questions after that. So, Dr. Summersill.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here. It's kind of nice to be the only one here, so Women's Caucus and the AAUW. I'm Carol Ann Summersill, and when I look around this room, there's not too many people I know, so I'd like to give you a little bit of my background. I'm running for re-election. I ran first 4 years ago, so I'm the newest one on the board. I'm also the youngest one on the board, and I'm 62. I am the vice chair of the board currently, and I'm also chair of quality patient care and patient experience. I was appointed and reappointed because of my expertise in quality care. I started out at a lower level, just on a department level in quality, went up to running quality for some other hospitals, and now I am the chair for our 2 hospitals and our 14 clinics, working with administration to make sure that we gain the awards and the health of our community. As you know, we're 4 or 5-star every time in CMS, which there's a lot of metrics that you have to meet to gain that in quality, and we're also leapfrog grade A, which is very hard to get. Only a few hospitals get that, and we're also one of the top 100 in the nation. Newsweek, top 100 in the nation. I have a lot of hats. I'm also a counselor for the California Medical Association and District 7 delegate. So I've advocated for a lot of policy changes for women and children, and one accommodation this year for that. My top priorities are ensuring that everyone has health care as a right and not just a privilege. And that's all sectors of our healthcare system, not just the poor, but even those with funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Can people hear stuff? No? Oh, hold it close. Okay. First question, what do you think are the biggest challenges to recruiting and keeping excellent physicians practicing at El Camino Health?
The biggest challenges are the cost of living here. We are having to offer them more than I make to get them to come here, and we're having to offer them the world to stay. So it's the cost of living. As far as the culture in our SVMG and PCMG clinics, we have a lot of people coming from other places to come to us because of the culture within our clinics. So the biggest challenge is definitely funds.
Okay. Do you think all El Camino Healthcare District board members should automatically be elected to the hospital board, as has happened in the past? And maybe for people who aren't familiar with there being two boards, maybe you can explain that a little bit.
So the structure is that there are 10 people on the hospital board, and there are 5 people, and that's the hospital board. Then above it, everything that comes from the hospital board goes up to the healthcare district board. The hospital board has 5 subject matter experts. So for instance, we realize that you don't make a lot of money out of insurance payments. So our last person we appointed to the board is an investment person. We have another person who is very interested in healthcare policy, etc. So those people, the 10 people on the board, are 5 electeds plus 5 subject matter experts. The electeds, I think it's very important. First of all, you can choose not to be on the hospital board, but who would choose not to be on the hospital board, right? So we all are on the hospital board. I think it's very important for the electeds to be on the hospital board. And the reason being that it keeps us focused on what's important. So there might be some things that we do where we lose money, but the health, both mental health and physical health of the healthcare district is improved by it. And by having electeds on the board, you have people not just looking at the bottom line all the time. We are going to ensure that the services are there and the financial stability of the hospital.
Okay. Looking back, would you have done anything differently during your first term, and why?
That's a tough one. I don't think I would have. I can make something up.
What about, do you want to share something that you were very proud or excited to have done during your first term?
Oh, I can share one of those. Okay, so one is, one of the issues is workforce challenges. We have workforce challenges, of course, because of where we live. And I tasked the healthcare district to create a summer internship program for people who are underserved in the healthcare services to come and get paid and also learn from our C-suite all the way down to the managers. And we've started that program and it's continued. Also, we were having problems with readmissions, and so I tasked them to please consider someone who would coordinate that. And we have a social worker now who helps coordinate the inpatient outpatient care that way. We have metrics. We have several metrics. We follow the STEEP dashboard, which is safe, timely, effective, efficient, equitable, and patient-centered care. And I tasked each of the departments within our hospital to find a metric they're not making in quality and look at it from an equity lens. And for instance, the OBGYN department picked breastfeeding, and there was a subset of the population that wasn't breastfeeding, and it was an ethnic group, and then they hired a Chinese lactation consultant because there was a language barrier that made them not breastfeed. So I'm proud of having them look at it through that lens. Those are just some.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the examples. Okay. One more. Okay. Sure. What role do you think local partisan politics has played, or should play in elections to the El Camino Healthcare District Board?
I don't think, it's a nonpartisan position, so I don't think it has played a major role in the election, to my knowledge. You know, the way I got into this was through a friend of mine who was very into politics. I wasn't into politics at all. You know, I just was into quality healthcare, that's it. And I think when you look at the incumbents, well, there's one who's very political, but each of us brings a different strength to the board, and it's not political. It's our expertise. One will ask anybody for money. No problem asking anybody for money. We've gotten millions out of the requests from that person. Another one's very astute with finance and into details. And then I'm in quality. So, and we're of all different political backgrounds. I mean, to give you an example, I'm vice chair. I was voted in vice chair by somebody who's a different political background than me. So we really don't look at our political backgrounds when we work together. We look at what we're trying to do for the district.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. Let's give a... And for our final panel, I'd like to invite Alex Levitch and Lee John for running for Mountain View Los Altos Board of Trustees. Okay, for the Mountain View Los Altos High School District Board of Trustees, there are 2 seats open and 3 candidates. I'd like to start with opening statements and with candidate Levitch going first.
Awesome. Thank you both for having me. I can't hear you. How about now? Speak a little louder. Oh, is that
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for having me here. It's awesome to see this crowd, and hopefully this will be helpful for everyone. I'm a mom to 2 students in Mountain View Los Altos Public Schools, a long-time resident, and I deeply care about our community and our schools. I have decades of experience in building teams and products at top tech companies while running my own school business. As a result, I have a strong skill set in strategic planning, decision-making, budgeting, leadership, and team building. I'm a former trustee at Baldwin School, where I helped open up a new high school, develop a 5-year strategic vision and plan, and improve mass education. My motivation to run stems from a unique blend of passion, deep commitment to education, and the strong skill set I developed throughout my career. I want to provide every student in our district with every opportunity, having the board invest in the following areas. Number 1, academic excellence and equity. Number 2, enhanced mental health services. Number 3, college and career readiness. Number 4, teacher support and compensation. Number 5, safe environment and modern facilities. And last but not least, number 6, fiscal responsibility and transparency. I've been endorsed by many organizations, including the Santa Clara Democratic Party, the Democratic Women Activist Network, Los Altos Town Crier, the outgoing 2 MVLA trustees, majority of Los Altos City Council members, Los Altos Hills, and Mountain View as well. I'm passionate about supporting our students, our teachers, and our community. I'm ready to bring fresh ideas and strong leadership to MVLA School Board.
Great, thank you. Go ahead, candidate.
Hello, can you guys hear me? Speak a little louder, hold your.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. My name is Li Zhang. This is the first time I'm running for this school board. I came to the US 30 years ago. My parents trusted me to get education over here. So education is the key for us to allow immigrants to be able to make it. I'm running for this school board, especially just giving back to the community. And I want my son has gone through K-8 at the LASD school district and ended up just graduated this year from Mountain View High School. I've seen firsthand how our family will benefit from the education, the public education. I want to focus on that, public education in this school district and the opportunity school has provided us. With a PhD in chemistry and a career in finance, I can see every student should have their own way, own path to success. I bring problem-solving skills and focus on academic rigor. My role as a senior manager at Tesla, specializing in finance and tax, and this is my second career, and vice chair of LASD Bond Oversight Committee, has equipped me with the financial expertise needed for responsible management of the district resources. As a mom and a community leader, I enjoy very much to be the book where we've chaired at all elementary school to help students develop writing skills, writing their own book. I helped organize Tea Time Club at Mountain View High School to support first-generation immigrant parents. In addition, I'm on the council, MVLA School District's Family Council to bridge communication between school board and the parents. Okay, I can continue. Give you guys more information as the questions are.
Sure, yes. Okay, so the first question is for candidate John. What do you see as the most important roles of an MBLA trustee, and what makes you a good fit for that position?
I believe the main responsibility of the school board is to establish policies that guide the school district, including setting priorities, achieving goals, and overseeing the budget, while also selecting and evaluating the superintendent who implements these policies on a day-to-day basis, essentially acting as the governing body for the school district and advocating for the public education with the community. As a board member, in addition, serving the role is to be responsible for the value, belief, and priorities of the community. I really, truly, wholeheartedly want to support and advocate for public education for every student, finding their own way to success.
Thank you. Candidate Levitch.
Sure. So certainly the job of the board is to support the district and the schools in working towards a shared vision, mission, and values. Really building out, continuing to maintain and building out a thriving school district where every student comes to success. The way the board does that is through creating and setting policies, through evaluating curriculum, through understanding how the spending goes and supervising the budget, and really making sure that how we are spending our time and money, time and resources is aligned with the strategic priorities of where the school district needs to go in order to achieve its vision and mission. The other piece that's really important for trustees is actually to listen to the community, really understand all the different stakeholders that we have in our community, students, parents, administration, teachers, other organizations, whether those are governmental organizations or businesses, understand all of their feedback and really combine it, bring it to the discussion of the board and administration and make decisions that are best for the district and the community all together.
Thank you. So we'll start this next question with candidate Levitch. Do you believe that the mental health services at the high schools are sufficient and address the issues that students are facing? If not, what would you advocate for or change?
Yeah, so certainly the district has started already investing in mental health, and it's visible and seen and very much appreciated by the community. There is wellness centers and like various partnerships with businesses, like with organizations such as CHOP, and now it's moving to a different organization as well. That said, we are experiencing, I want to say, pandemic or a crisis of mental health, and we need to continue, every organization, in particular school district or school, has to continue to invest quite heavily in mental health. We need to really expand the access to mental health services, support students as they go through the transition from one provider of mental health services to another, and really making sure that everything is available to any student who may need it, not just students in distress, but also as a preventative measure. I really want the school district to teach its students that mental health is a hygiene, it's a daily hygiene. Just like we brush our teeth, we shower, etc. We have to take care of our mental health. The lives we live with devices and the various divisiveness that we have really requires us to take care of mental health really well.
Thank you. Candidate John?
I actually have a very personal experience. My son.
Can't hear you.
I have a very personal experience. My son actually has gone through IEP program. The testing process was very lengthy to get into the program. He started in the last year from block middle school, and then the pandemic hit. So he, there was no testing going on, and they were cooped up in doing online study for 1 full year during pandemic. And my son actually had a mental breakdown one time. He started fighting. I think a lot of these things were isolation, constantly on the computer, doing everything digitally. That I believe that's one of the contributors to some kind of the mental issue these days. I wanted to address this by incorporating outdoor love of nature into the curriculum. Might be the health education class. I do believe a lot of students taking this just as a credit. The contents were not really much more helpful in regarding to the mental issue. That I want to advocate to see this kind of implemented. And the other thing I found through my family personal experience is the specialization of the counselor on campus could have space to improve. That my
Thank you. Okay, the next question, we'll start with candidate John. Mountain View and Los Altos high schools have respectively 15% and 70% of students who are considered economically disadvantaged and therefore qualify for free or reduced price lunch. Food insecurity is a real issue even at these schools in high-income areas. What would you do to address food insecurity in NVLA?
Food is fundamental, right? That the kids have to be able to study at school. I want to ensure that's available to all the kids. And I got some feedback from some parents who were saying, their kids are hungry after lunch, and the lunch was not enough somehow. They were hoping, they wonder if there's some ways for the leftover lunch can be served to the kids. And, I can do some investigation on that. I don't know if it's safe, but I'm just saying we definitely want to ensure the kids have enough to eat during school days. Thank you.
Canada.
I'd echo that food is completely fundamental to any human being functioning, and definitely high school teenagers. And so I would actually think about the problem along a few dimensions. Number one, do we have appropriate access in all the places where students gather at the school? That's what I would divide it. Number two, as Lee mentioned, do we have the right quantities to support all the students that may be in need, or all the students in the high school? Number three, I would think through whether there is some stigma associated with actually using the free lunch, and other students who are simply not accessing it because of that stigma, and then we would need to address that. And number four, what I actually heard from the community is that there isn't enough time to have the lunch. And so it might be that the food is available, accessible, destigmatized, but there isn't enough time in the day to get to the food and to eat it. And I see a couple of notes here. But that's what the parents and the kids are saying. And I think we need to address that and figure out how do we make proper time to nourish our bodies and our souls.
Okay, Candidate Lovich, this question will start with you. Are you familiar with the ethnic studies curriculum? And if so, what do you think of it? How would you balance the concerns of parents with district and state academic goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So certainly the intent and goal of the law of ethnic studies is very noble. It is really to help everyone understand the different cultures, the different histories, the different minority groups, and develop empathy and understanding. How to get there and how to implement that in the various school districts and schools and the various teachers is a good question. Right now there is no standardization happening in this process, and every teacher and every school district are choosing to do whatever makes sense to them. I think we've gone over through a year where MBLA has tried out this class. And it's time to really gather community feedback, understand what went well, what wasn't as good, make conclusions and make adjustments. What I'm hearing from the community on my listening tour, some are very happy, some parents and students, and some are not. And the stories they tell are as if those were completely two different classes. But really we need to make sure there is quality of education, that we have opportunities to really have a balanced view, respectful dialogue, and teach the kids about each other, empowering all groups that are involved, and not only some.
Candidate John?
Yeah, for that ethnic studies I think there are two perspectives. The perspective for the parents. Oh, sorry. There are two perspectives. The perspectives for the kids, high school kids, and the perspective for the parents. I'm an immigrant myself. I came from a very different kind of society. When I came here, there were a lot of information, things, culture we have to learn. So I'm very glad ethnic studies are offered. They give students global view of everyone in this community, right? The one of the suggestions and also the feedback I heard from kids, my son included, is if you're STEM students, you took this as an easy class to get A, and you're a liberal arts students, you felt like, oh, I would rather study global history before I'm undertaking ethnic studies. I do think it makes some sense because you need certain kind of history background to be able to dive into specific race-related issue. So I'm hoping, I agree with Alex, that the class taught with such a diverse backgrounds of teachers and the exact content are not very standardized, that need to be carefully evaluated, continual evaluation of the content of the class.
Last question. Candidate John. Given the high cost of living in this area, how specifically would you make it more possible for teachers to live near where they teach?
Okay.
An easy question.
Yeah, it's a very easy question. I think this is a universal question, not just for the teacher. I did some inquiries and investigation as my previous career, PhD researcher. I wanted to all the data points. Our teachers actually get paid the highest, our school district in the area. They're not even qualified for standard affordable housing, so they're not qualified for that. So we have to come up very innovative ways of dealing with this problem, such as get a list of ADUs to see if in the local area there's some cheap rental they can afford. And like a lot of us came here young, right? I graduated with a PhD, my starting salary probably similar as the teachers here. We try to look for some lower rent first. So for the younger teachers, I presume there's slightly different solution than the teachers that are more senior. But after, I do think we have to come up some very innovative ways to make this work collaboratively across with the city and some nonprofit organizations.
Can I go ahead?
You repeat the question?
Of course, yes. Given the high cost of living in this area, how specifically would you make it more possible for teachers to live near where they teach?
Yeah. So first of all, teacher support and teacher retention is critical for any school district, any school. We can't have excellent education without excellent educators. And obviously their desire to teach in the schools and their quality of life and the bandwidth, the mental and physical bandwidth they have to spend on it depends on their commute and where they live. And so living in such a high cost of living area, we have to figure out how to help our teachers get housing benefits. I have a couple of ideas on this front. Really a lot of it stems from partnering with various organizations in the area. One of the things I've done for my small business that potentially could be an interesting idea here is I help the teachers get discounts in apartment complexes and get more affordable rates to rent in those apartment complexes. So we could potentially partner with the cities or other educational organizations, put together some funds and partner with apartment complexes to offer discounts to teachers. Mountain View, as an example, has a lot of apartment complexes. Over the long term, we need to figure out how to create more affordable housing, again by partnering with other organizations, putting together our funds, potentially other school districts like Mountain View Bisman or Foothill De Anza College. Mountain View Bisman, as an example, has built 122 apartments, and if they are not going to use all of them, potentially there's an opportunity for MBLA to partner and offer some of those to their teachers. But that's something they have to figure out.
Right on time. Okay, thank you both so much for being here and participating in our panel. Okay, so for our last segment, I'd like to invite up all of the electeds that spoke tonight so that we can have a panel about women holding office, running for office. This is a new thing that we are trying. A few questions. It will be very casual. Yes, please stay here. I also would like to say that unfortunately Sally Meadows, who is the one woman running for Los Altos City Council, could not be here tonight. She's having a back issue and we wish her a speedy recovery. So unfortunately she could not come. Thank you for participating in this evening, of course, but also in this pilot that we're doing tonight where we interview candidates. Again, we are the Women's Caucus, and we care very much about people being involved in city affairs. Civic engagement is very important to us. Voting, of course, is important to us. So we like to hear and learn from all of you who are running, have run in the past, hold elective office or not yet, what that is like, to inspire some people in the audience so that people can walk away and share it with somebody, things like that. I'm not going to go in order. Not everybody has to answer every question. If you are interested in answering the question, you can pick up the mic or pass it to someone else. It's very casual, so don't feel pressured to answer. So the first question is very broad. How did you get involved in civic affairs and decide to run for an elected position? What was your mindset or thought process?
I can start. Because of public education helping me rise up, the moment my kids were in the public school, I'm like, what can I do? What are the things I can do? Sorry, I did better the first time around. Because my kids, because of my public school education, I wanted to get back to the public schools the moment I could. And when my kids were in the schools, I'm like, okay, what can I do? So literally within the first month, I ran a walkathon. And then I joined the PTA, ran the PTA, joined the Los Altos Educational Foundation. Never ran the Los Altos Educational Foundation. Many better people did that. And then I ran the bond campaign in 2014. And around that time, I realized I went around selling that bond to people to vote for, and then I had no decision making. And that's not fair. I know exactly what I helped promise, so I want to be the one implementing it. So I ran in 2016 and was able to join the Los Altos Board of Trustees.
Thank you. Anybody else want to share?
Hello? So yeah, so it's been a kind of a long thought process for me. I've always been very passionate about education. I grew up in a family where education was a top value. Every day I'd come home and my mom, who's here in the audience, would actually ask me, what did you do in school? What did you learn? What were some classes? Now she asks my kids. And so I knew that was very important. We also ended up moving to multiple countries, immigrating, and money was not something we had. All we had was education. And so I got to where I got simply through one thing, through education. And as my kids were born, I really started sort of putting this into the next gear. I started researching different education methods in the world and approaches, got excited about Montessori, put my kids in a Montessori school, and then started getting more involved and ended up being the trustee on the board of Bowman School, which is a Montessori school in Palo Alto. And throughout those 3 years, I tremendously enjoyed being on the board, being involved in all the decisions, opening up a new high school. It was just simply fascinating. And then the kids moved to public school. They're in LASD right now, and they'll be in MBLA in 2 years. And I realized that I actually really want to be involved in the public school education system. Not only do I want to be where they are, the public school education system, that's where education is happening at scale. And I want to make an impact on that. And putting together my passion, my commitment to education, my experience as a trustee on the board of a different school, and all my decades of experience in tech and running a small business, I figured this would be the opportunity where I can make the most impact, and I decided to run for MBLA. So.
Others? Does anyone else want to share?
For me, actually, it's kind of interesting. I've worked in the corporate world all my life until COVID, and I think there were a lot of Zoom meetings going on back then, which was not available. I was very naive. I came to the States actually for democracy, for higher education, but in the society I came from, these kind of positions are not really just like a government job, and for kind of scared that either you're in the tech world, you're in this kind of government world. It's like a totally different path. And thank you for the Civic Leadership Academy for Chinese during COVID time. So I learned how these kind of things work, and these are also kind of volunteer jobs. I was like, I had an aha moment. Yeah. I really had an aha moment. I was like,
for the money. Low bar, Jessica, low bar.
no, but I still have a job. So it's kind of interesting. So I really had an aha moment because I've been volunteer in the PTA. I was on the organization committee for Troop 33, and it's all volunteer job. And I was like, okay, what's my next volunteer job? Because my son just graduated. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. I know everything about this school, and education is the key for for me. So that's why I'm here.
Thank you. My story about education and interest in education really came about because I had some kids. And so similar to Alex's story, I was fortunate to find a Mandarin immersion preschool for my kids. And that started me on the launch of just finding fascination in early language acquisition, immersion education, and I started, after 6 years of work, the Mandarin immersion program in Palo Alto. And so that was my foray into education, because I was also an engineer, and I just took to it. It was something I self-taught. I didn't know anything about teaching, learning. I went to conferences, learned about the importance in early education. And then when I went to the kindergartens in Palo Alto, one of them was a Spanish immersion program, and that one just fascinated me to no end, which started my then engagement with the school administration, with school board members, developing curriculum, writing grants, and just really getting into education kind of from the ground up. So that sparked my interest, in being involved in grassroots efforts with organizing parents. And then an appointment showed up. And so that's one recommendation I would make for those of you who are interested in public office, is to seek any appointments to either commissions or committees. In this particular case, it was an appointment for this seat because my predecessor resigned early, went to go be Undersecretary of Education in the Bush administration. That was Bill Evers. And so when he left, there was 1.5 years left on his term, and a bunch of my friends said, you should go ahead and go for it. And I'd never considered public office before, but I learned so much about education, and I felt so enthusiastic about it that I said, okay, let's go. And in the interview, public meeting, that they have the interview, they asked, why do you want to go for this appointment? I said, because I don't have to run a campaign. And so, let me tell you, that was the truth. And I don't enjoy the politics part of it so much, but it's part of the deal. And so after that 1.5 years, I said, this isn't so bad. I'll do it 4 more times. And so this is now my 5th campaign. And I really think that it's something that you've got to have the ability and a little bit of guts to put yourself out there. But if you've got that real interest in making a difference and contributing to the community in a kind of stronger fashion, there's lots of ways to do it, be it whether on committees or commissions, in appointment processes, or running for election. It really is very worthwhile.
So I definitely recommend anybody who has passion for something that they should run, and not just be on the sidelines trying to get somebody else to do it. What made me run was I got a phone call from one of the current board members. He called me and asked me to run, and I said, what are you asking me to run for? Didn't you vote against me for an appointment? And he said, well, I've been thinking about it, and I've been looking at you since then, and I think you need to run. And I put down the phone and thought about it, because in quality I've done a lot of things, but there's just a lot of systemic things that I would love to change. And if I could change it in just this little healthcare system, and I've got all these aspirations of us being a blue state, but if I could change it in this little healthcare system and it can spread out, that would just be amazing. And so I called my friend who I did not know was in politics. And the reason why I knew she was in politics then was because when we graduated, my kids are all grown, and when we graduated out of a mother's group, I called her and I said, are you going to join? And I won't mention the organization that most people join when they leave this other one. And she said, oh, heck no, I'm not going to join that. I'm going to just deal with my political aspirations. And I said, what aspirations? And so I called her and I said, I want to run. I have no idea how to run. And she said, we got you. And so that was wonderful. And after I ran, I have 3 sisters, so it's 4 of us in my family, all girls. My oldest sister said, oh, thank God somebody got it in their blood, because my mother was head of economic development for New York State, and we used to do our little beats on the floor while she was at her meetings and go all the meetings, and and so she said, oh, this is great, it's in your blood. But I can tell you this has been so fulfilling for me to see the results. And so anybody who's really thinking about running, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? You're back where you were, right? You lost. And the best that can happen is, wow, you can really affect change.
Right. That's great. So it's wonderful to hear from everybody. Okay, the second question, how do you deal with mansplaining? Or maybe you haven't encountered it, but I doubt that's the case. So how do you?
I can try. I think this is about believing in yourself, trusting yourself, and simply doing the right thing. and everything else is noise. That's how I look at it. I, say something to the extent like I said. Honestly, like I said. Oh, well, you mean like I said? Yes, all right. I mean, I am on an elected board with, thankfully, there's 2 women and 3 men. For a while, it was 1 woman and 4 men, and they are wonderful men. But I haunt them, either mansplaining or repeating or just talking over me. I know it's beyond the question, but I had to deal with it. At the beginning, I let it go, but then I'm like, this is happening too much, so I had to speak up and say this is not okay. And I helped these lovely men. I do think they're all great men. Become better. I think so, yes.
Most of us have been dealing with this our whole lives.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you.
Right?
Okay. Have you experienced discrimination being in an elected position? For those of you who are already in elected positions, have you experienced discrimination for being a woman in that role?
I absolutely dealt with some version of misogyny or sexism, especially as we were bringing out a plan that the community hated of moving Egan to the 10th site. I was in a lot of sessions with Brian Johnson. It was him and I letting people know what the plan was and answering questions. And I would answer the question using the same exact words he did, and they were like, oh, whatever. And then they'd hear him say it, and it was like, oh, he's so smart. And this was happening in many locations. Or in one situation where we had another meeting, and it was in the same sort of thing that we were dealing with, where male parents said to me, shut up. Let Jeff Baer talk, who was the superintendent of our schools. It was, it was awful. At that time, I decided it was a good time for me to leave. We were done really with that conversation anyway. And later on, I did get an apology from that gentleman. I don't know if he's changed per se, but he did apologize.
So I went to a women's college, so I'm all about the women.
I'll just say that as a female and an engineer, when I went to my undergrad at Caltech, the ratio at that time was 1 woman to 10 men. So we were.
I've been there.
Yes, exactly, right, exactly. And also in engineering, in general. There's just a lot more men, and we, put up with it and assert ourselves as much as we can, and just need to regularly remind ourselves, find support among other women too, that we have as much right to be there in politics, in engineering, in whatever field it is. Also as a person of color, there's also a certain amount of discrimination with respect to that we just have to keep fighting, but in a professional and dignified fashion. And that's just the best that we can do.
I think we've come a long way. So when I finished Johns Hopkins Medical School, I was one of the first Black women to graduate from that school. And what I experienced would not be tolerated today. And so I guess this question isn't as big an issue for me because I've dealt with a lot worse when I was younger. I see people, I can just cut them a look and they know they did something, they better correct themselves before the end of their sentence. So I think on our hospital board there hasn't been really, or healthcare district where there has not been that. Or maybe I'm ignoring it, I have no idea. But it's been very congenial as far as not anti-woman at all.
Well, there is no doubt that our politics and our cities and counties are better because women are in position. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for running. Thank you for wanting to serve. Civic leadership is important and needed. So thank you. Good luck in this home stretch. Thank you to the audience for attending. Thank you to Rotary for the sound equipment. Thank you to our tip sponsor, AAUW. Thank you to the Women's Caucus. There is a recording of this, so it will be up on our website in a few days if you want to send it along to someone else. But have a good evening.